So I've already changed the ball joint on the passenger side, and I'm going to show you guys on the driver's side. So I should look really smart, and I've already figured out some of the tricks. We're going to make some improvements for safety, and I'm still kind of processing the damage and the pain and the shrapnel. We already got hurt this morning, and if everything goes good, we'll probably change the tie rod ends too. So before I jack the car up, I'm going to take all my lug nut caps off, break the lug nuts loose, and take the center cap off, and use the impact gun to take the axle nut off, and then we'll jack the car up and pull the wheel off. A little confusing here. Vehicle must be standing on its wheels when loosening or tightening the 12-point axle nut. And the very next thing it says, lift vehicle until the load on the front axle is relieved. Loosen 12-point nut. So I've got the axle nut off, and the next step is going to be to loosen the bolts for the ball joint, these lower bolts, and then you'll be able to pull this whole assembly towards you and the axle will come out. The axle is a lot shorter on the driver's side, a lot easier to get to. You wouldn't even have to crawl under the car. Alright, so this is where we are. We're going to mark the position of the bolts. You can't really move them too much. We're going to remove those bolts and then we'll push the axle in. We don't have a hub puller. You probably won't need one. So if you grab on your brake rotor right now, you should be able to pull it towards you. You might have to tap the axle out a little. We'll get a block of wood and a hammer for that if we have to. Nope. Alright, so our ball joint came out of the control arm. Gonna have to push the axle out of there. Alright, I could just be making stuff up now, but I think it might be different if you have the car on a lift versus just having one side jacked up. And if it's on a lift, the tension on the sway bar might be different, and it won't be pushing down on the control. Oh, hey puppies. They're very distracting, because they're gonna chew on everything. Stop! Get out of here. Did you take a bolt? No. Back to what I was saying before the puppies came out.
Don't worry, I'll wait.
So for my situation, I'm gonna loosen this bolt here, put a jack under it, disconnect the control arm so that'll flop down and we're not gonna damage our axle. New trick unlocked. So if you push the control arm down a bit and then slide this bolt out just a little, that'll hold the control arm a little bit lower. VW says you have to support your axle because you can't just let it hang down, but it's sitting on the control arm, so this is a very important step that I missed the first time in the VW instructions because it's on the next page. So once you loosen this nut, back it off to the top of the bolt here, whether you have a pickle fork or the press, and then once you start moving the ball joint down, any explosive power could be captured by the nut and it won't. Okay, so I think the explosiveness of what just happened shut the camera off, and I'm still kind of processing the damage and the pain and the shrapnel. I'm not sure what this fractured piece of metal is that was just on the top of my knuckle by where all that blood is. So going by the official Bentley instructions here, it says install your ball joint puller, place engine jack or similar underneath to ensure safety. Danger or accident through falling parts when pressing out the ball joint. Alright, we don't have an engine jack, and it doesn't really say what to place that under. And then it says, to protect ball joint threads and for safety reasons. Okay. And then it goes to the next page, leave nut on a few turns. And then it goes to installing. That leave nut on a few turns is part of removal, and really needs to be on this top page, because we didn't go down to the next page, and that's where the safety accident came in. Okay, maybe that one wasn't so bad. The other one, very bad. I think I have concussion trauma from earlier when it exploded inside this wheel well. Oh, I'm spinning the shaft. I need my So here's the two old ball joints and the new one. And you can see the old ones have that torque spit pattern and the new one has the Allen key pattern. The nuts are different sizes, that's no big deal. So now we're going to put our new ball joint up through and we'll put the nut on top. And you don't have to worry about the other 3 bolts right now. You can go ahead and tighten this to torque specs, whatever that is. I think it was 18, maybe 30, maybe 22. Just guess any one of those numbers, whatever you feel like doing. So you get the idea. Put the Allen wrench in, use an open end, and keep tightening until you feel like it's tight enough. So once you get your ball joint over tightened, the next thing you're going to want to do is get all this back together somehow. And here's where I just end the video. So we're going to want to get the axle back in to where that goes. The control arm, we might have to do our little trick with the bolt to get in there. I'm not super thrilled about this axle bearing being greasy like that. So we've got our axle jammed in. We're going to put the nut back on so that doesn't come out again. And then we just have to get the ball joint into the control arm and the sway bar end link hooked back up. One way to check if your axle splines are lined up before you start forcing the axle in is to just grab it and the wheel's turning, so guess we're lined up. These threads aren't really heavy duty threads like you would see on a tractor PTO shaft, so So when they say to mark it, this is what they're talking about, but you can see the outline from the old bracket. Some of you guys are working on really rusty Mark IVs, but not us. Look at this. Solid. So you can see our new bracket is lined up pretty perfect on our old dust mark, so no need to really worry about marking them or painting them or anything silly like that. And here comes danger. It's that last 1/4 inch when you hear the car start lifting up. One more. Yep, that'll do it. So that's how you change your ball joints. Now all we have to do is put the tire back on, put the car on the ground, then we'll use the impact to tighten that axle nut. Alright, so it's official. We were changing the tie rod ends, but it got tough, so we quit. All we did was take the clamps off of that boot, so we're going to replace those with zip ties. And then we're going to look into getting maybe the special tie rod end tool. There's a couple different ones we can get. And then we'll go back to taking the tie rods off. Maybe in the next video I'll do the tie rod ends.